Come, I'll tell you a story. Tonight begins with a theft. Now the sort involving jewelry or gold or someone's prize-winning cow, though no doubt such thefts are also very upsetting. But the greatest theft in the history of the universe, because on this particular day, someone stole knowledge itself. Tonight's story begins with a theft. Not the sort where a fellow creeps into your house in the middle of the night and quietly walks away with your jewelry or money, or that one brass pot your grandmother insists has been in the family since Mahabharata, which if you ask, grandmothers usually turns out to be true, but a theft so enormous that for a little while at least the entire universe forgot how it was supposed to function. Now, you see, long before kingdoms rose, before rivers had names, before anyone had thought to invent taxes, which I suspect immediately improved everyone's mood, Lord Brahma had completed the creation of the universe. World had been formed. Mountains stood proudly where mountains generally prefer to stand. Oceans had politely agreed not to wander into the land, and the sun knew where to rise. The moon knew when to shine. Everything for once was running remarkably smoothly. Now, creating an entire universe, as you might imagine, is a rather exhausting work. I've never personally attempted it, but I imagine that spending several cosmic days designing mountains, oceans, forests, stars, planets, and an astonishing variety of insects, some of which, if you ask me, could have been left as rough drafts, even Brahma might have felt that he earned a short nap. So he rested. And that was exactly the opportunity someone had been waiting for. Far away, hidden in the darkness of the cosmic waters, lived an Asura named Hayagriva. Now, every great story has one fellow who looks at the universe functioning perfectly well and somehow concludes that, you know what, this place really needs me causing problems. That was Hayagriva. Unlike many demons who preferred solving their disagreements by throwing mountains at people, which I admit is dramatic if not especially practical, Hayagriva proposed something considerably more dangerous. Patience. He watched. He waited. He listened. Because he knew something very few others did. The knowledge that governed creation itself, the sacred Vedas, rested with Brahma. And while Brahma slept, Hayagriva moved. Now, if you've ever tried sneaking into a room while someone else is asleep, you'll know that every tiny sound suddenly begins to feel suspiciously loud. Floors creak, doors complain, even your own breathing seems determined to betray you. Thankfully for Hayagriva, he wasn't stealing sweets from a kitchen. He was stealing from the creator of the universe, which is admittedly a much bolder career choice. Silent as a shadow, the demon approached Brahma and seized the 4 Vedas. Just like that, gone. No alarms, no celestial guards blowing giant conch shells, no heavenly announcement saying, "Excuse us, there appears to be a slight emergency." Nothing. By the time Brahma awoke, Hayagriva had vanished into the depths of the cosmic ocean. Now, you might be wondering, surely the Vedas are just books? That's rather like saying that your heart is just a muscle. The Vedas weren't merely collection of hymns or verses, they contained the knowledge of creation itself, the rhythms that kept the universe in harmony, the wisdom by which God, sages and humanity understood the cosmos. Imagine waking up tomorrow to discover that every scientific formula, every language, every piece of history, every law of nature and every instruction manual for existence had simply disappeared. Actually, don't imagine that. It's quite stressful. Without the Vedas, creation itself began to falter. The sages could no longer hear the sacred wisdom, the balance of the universe began to tremble. And Hayagriva, he was delighted. Because power is useful. Knowledge, however, knowledge tells you how to use that power. Take that away and even the strongest kingdoms eventually stumble into darkness. Meanwhile, the gods begin to panic. Now, I should point out that gods generally prefer not to panic. It just looks terribly undignified. They usually favor words like concerned or carefully evaluating the situation. But when the knowledge of the entire universe has been stolen by a demon hiding somewhere at the bottom of an endless cosmic ocean, even the most optimistic deity has to admit that the day isn't going particularly well. One by one, they turned towards the only being capable of setting things right, Lord Vishnu, the preserver. He listened quietly, no interruption, no dramatic speeches, no immediate hurling of celestial weapons across the universe, tempting though that might have been. Instead, he smiled. Now, I've noticed something about Vishnu. Whenever he smiles like that, someone evil is about to have a very disappointing week. My time has come, he said softly. The gods looked at him. To recover the Vedas, he continued, and to protect the world from a flood that has not yet begun. There was a brief silence, because that was unexpected. The Vedas being stolen, yes, that everyone understood. But a flood? What flood? No one asked. Experience had taught the gods that whenever Vishnu casually mentioned an event before it happened, it was generally wiser to trust him than to request a detailed weather forecast. Far below, in the mortal world, have you ever tried helping someone only to realize several hours later that they have completely taken over your life? Perhaps a neighbor asked you to water one plant while they were away, and somehow, 3 days later, you're feeding their cat, collecting their parcels, answering their phone calls, and wondering how exactly you became acting manager of someone else's household. Well, King Manu had a rather similar experience, except instead of a neighbor, it was only a tiny little fish. And instead of looking after it for a weekend, he accidentally helped save an entire world.